And then I read the script, and I thought the first act really terrified me. But by the times we got to act 2 and 3 in the script, I was like, well, he's really taking us on an adventure that is quite exciting. He's going in. I called Tom Gormican in this production the mind, because it really is his fantasy, if you will, culminating from whatever the perception has been in the media, the internet, whatever blips in my life that have occurred, that have gone public as a result of being in the public eye, and some sense of knowledge of my interviews and the things that interested me in this path. And that spoke to me, and it was like a fantasy of Tom Gormican's interpretation of what my life would be like. It's completely fictional. It is not me. There's some elements that are truthful, but it is a fictionalized, surrealistic, abstract, comical account of a week in, and I hate saying my name like this, but Nicolas Cage's life. I also want to offer that I had a great cast. I really enjoyed working with Pedro. You couldn't work with a nicer man. And I thought he brought something quite amusing to the character. Pedro, as Hobby, has a very unique sense of humor. he would make jokes about lettuce patches in the field in Budapest. And I'm like, is that really your version of comedy? your humor? And it is funny because no one finds it funny. But his character, I think he was a little method. He was playing a character that would find that amusing. I was hearing rumblings about it from friends of mine in the most unusual places. I would go to different concerts, and people that were involved with the band would say, "Oh, there's a script that they're writing, a script about you," and I was like, "Yeah, that just sounds impossible, and that's just not interesting to me whatsoever." And then I would hear about it more and more. It kept coming. The news of this screenplay about some version of me was in the air, and I kept saying to my agency, I'm just not interested. I have no interest in playing myself in a movie. It's just not something I'd want to do. And then it started to heat up, and I got another call saying, well, there's this script, and my agent, Andrew Finkelstein, said, this is really something you should look at. And then my other agent read 10 pages and said, absolutely not. No, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. Well, then I got a letter from Tom Gormican, the writer-director, and it was a nice letter. And it was the kind of letter that I could tell had genuine enthusiasm in it. I could tell it was intelligent, and it looked like someone that actually had some knowledge about my filmography. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. I started doing this when I was 15 professionally. And to say that after 42 years that this is something new in my life in cinema, and it is kind of extraordinary. I felt like I've done a little bit of everything already, but I've never done anything like this before, which meant that the experience was both exciting and terrifying. This is really trippy. I started getting anxiety that they're actually calling me Nick and they're actually calling me Mr. Cage. And I'm like, wait, I'm not supposed to be, I'm always a character. I'm always playing a part. So it was terrifying and it was exciting, and I will probably never see the movie. It was a little bit like going down memory lane as far as it pertains to Nicki. Like, what was my energy like back then? And I would look at some old interviews. I remember I kept looking at the Horgan interview in England that was kind of, spectacular for both good and bad reasons. And thinking, well, that's a good model in terms of the look. I mean, I remember at first Tom wanted it to be like Con Air. I go, but Con Air is Cameron Poe. That's not Nicki Coppola or Nicolas Cage. That's Cameron Poe. This is what I was like. This is the actual personality. He goes, well, that's a little, keyed up. I said, so let's find a way to relax it a little bit, but let's use that for the look and the energy. And I thought that was a good choice. Sharon was great as my ex-wife in the movie. Boy, is she the real deal. And Lily Sheen was, there's a real kind heart there, and it's hard not to feel paternal when you're working in a situation. Plus, I've never had the bliss or the pleasure of being blessed with both sons and a daughter. I have two boys, and that's it. But that's good because in the way they're telling this story, it supports the fictionalized account of Nicolas Cage. I do things like if I'm making a comedy, there are dramatic moments. If I'm making a drama, I try to make sure there's comedic moments. This is a comedy, but Tom really wanted to play up the drama. He wanted it to be sincere. He didn't want it to be overly broad. He didn't want it to be, overly goofy, that, if there's tears, there's real tears. And I subscribe to that. Whatever the fascination has been on the internet, the memification, whatever it is that because of a performance style that was intentionally chosen by myself to explore a dynamic in film performance that went into surrealism or the abstract or what have you, people in media have, and you attach that to a couple blips in one's personal life over 42 years, and suddenly that becomes the perception of an individual, when in fact, I find myself really rather boring, and I find myself really rather, to many people's disappointment, normal. So I'm excited for them to laugh and get some humor out of this, which we can all use right about now. And I'm excited for them to go on the ride. The narrative is unique. It goes through all kinds of twists and turns that are unusual for a studio film, a commercial studio film. This movie is taking risks.